All right, well, we are back on the Bleacher Bums podcast. Back here with my boy Tanner Schwartzbeck, Drew Stevens back on again. And our special guest today is Lauren Sanden. Did I pronounce that correctly?
Yes, you did.
Yes, Lauren is a Riverside volleyball player, 4-year varsity starter, 3-time Riverside volleyball MVP. I'm going through all the accolades right now. First team all-region this year, second team all-state. I heard it would have been first team if you guys were able to advance. Drew's bragging for you a little bit.
You.
100%.
Top 5 in kills in the state this year. Is that correct as well?
I would say like the 2019 season.
Yeah.
Okay.
You're definitely top 3 or 5.
Nice. A 4.5 GPA, something I was never able to attain, not even close.
4.66.
In high school. Oh, okay. Okay. 4.66.
Get it right.
And she is headed to Georgia Tech for her college career, which is currently a top 25 program. Well, thank you for joining us.
Of course.
Are you excited?
I am excited, yeah.
Yeah. So you leave tomorrow.
Tomorrow morning at 7 a.m.
Tomorrow morning. What are you looking forward to most headed out to college?
My friends.
New friends?
New friends,
Yeah.
yeah. I'm going to have a bunch of time off in the summer. Like, I only have classes on Tuesday and Thursday, so I'll have a bunch of time to, like, go and explore Atlanta, and that's probably what I'm most excited about. And obviously the volleyball. Like, that's a big part of me going down there.
So only a Tuesday, Thursday class schedule?
Right.
For the summer.
And that's only
okay, I guess you're right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's only one of my classes, and I think the other 2 classes are asynchronous the entire time, so it's on my own time.
Okay.
So
are you do you have a major or anything like that yet?
I declared in biomedical engineering for right now. That's actually the biggest major that they have there, so it might be a lot of, I don't know how much work it's going to be, but I'm open to changing in the future, but it's like what I'm most interested in right now, so that's why I chose
Awesome.
it.
Well, that's a great place to get an engineering degree.
It is, yeah.
So you mentioned you're looking forward to friends. Are you like close with some of the other freshmen that are coming in?
Yeah, I actually have 2 friends from my academy. I went to the Academy of Engineering and Technology, and 2 of my friends from there are going. One of them's majoring in biomedical engineering too. And then one girl from my club team is actually a volleyball recruit there. So I have a bunch of people that I know, and then I'm friends with the other recruits that are coming in, and I know people on the volleyball team, so I feel pretty comfortable going in, knowing people. I'm not too nervous to like be alone the first couple of days, so I'm pretty comfortable right now.
Awesome. So one person from Northern Virginia is going to be in your class. Like, about where else is everybody from? Like Atlanta area for the most part, or kind of all over?
Well, so for our recruiting class, we've actually got a few internationals too. So we have me, and then there's this girl from West Virginia who played on my club team, and then we've got one from Florida, one who's a few minutes north of Atlanta, and then one from Minnesota, one from Argentina, and one from Brazil. I might be messing that one up, but
is that pretty common for international players to come over and play here?
For the big programs, yeah. And our coaches are actually Brazilian, so they coach the Brazilian national team, so they have a bunch of connections outside of the U.S., and so they bring in a lot of girls that are international. So there's probably 3 or 4 girls on the team that are not from the U.S.
That's great. How long have those coaches been a part of the program?
3 or 4 years, maybe.
3 or 4 years.
Yeah, they just had a coaching change a couple of years ago, and ever since then, I think the program's really picked up. So
yeah, I was gonna say we were doing a little bit of research. It looked like in the '90s they had a pretty good, strong time, and then a pretty good run from about 2002 to 2008, and then I think it kind of went quiet for a little bit, then the last few years
they picked up.
They picked up 14-5, I think, last year in conference only.
In conference, yeah. They was actually really surprising that they didn't make the tournament last year. But this year this was the first time in like 9 or 10, 12
years, I think.
Yeah, it's been a long time since they made a tournament, and so they won their first game, then they lost the second to Minnesota. But Minnesota's like number 2 or 3 in the nation.
Really?
So, yeah.
Oh wow. Because when I saw that, I saw like number 3 next to their name, and I didn't know if they were the 3rd seed or they were like number 3 overall in the country.
No, Minnesota was the 3rd seed going into the tournament, so
okay.
they're a very difficult team to beat. But
yeah, from what I've seen, I mean, it's usually like the college softball World Series is phenomenal, and I think watching the women's volleyball is so intense too.
Oh yeah.
From what I've seen though, I like a lot. Like, is the Big 12 a big volleyball area, or is that just usually Texas?
Big 12. Well,
from my experience,
Texas?
actually working in college, Texas usually took the Big 12 conference champs.
Yeah. Texas, Baylor, Oklahoma, those are big programs. TCU is pretty good.
Yeah.
So it's not like they don't have like 5 or 6 teams that make the tournament every year, but they've got some really good programs in there that are competitive.
Did you, outside of Georgia Tech, where were other places that you were recruited to go?
Okay, so actually Georgia Tech was the first offer I got.
Really? Okay.
It's actually a super interesting story of how I got there.
Yeah, tell the story.
Okay, so it started my sophomore year, and our recruiting coordinator at our club he'd just come into the club, and he had been best friends and kind of lived with the recruiting coordinator who'd just gotten hired at Georgia Tech. So I had that connection instantly. So he reached out to her. They started recruiting me my sophomore year. And I was like over the world. Like, I was so happy. And then I went to a camp. They loved me. And then I went to another summer camp, and they kind of were like, we don't know if we want to pursue this any farther, because they're like, you have some things we need you to work on. We don't know if we have space for you. And so that was pretty like hard to deal with. And then I went through my high school season, worked really hard. And then when was it? It was February of last year. Virginia Tech was coming to watch one of our club practices. And so we kind of all got in there before, just to kind of mentally prepare for practice. And I got a text from the recruiting coordinator at Georgia Tech. It was like just a questionnaire, like, to fill this out. And this is the first like form of contact that I had from them and like months. And I had sent them an email the night before with my updated highlight video. So I knew they read it. They'd probably seen it, been a little hopefully impressed. And then they sent me the text. And that actually within that same hour, I got dropped from William and Mary. They recruited a different libero or a different player for my position. And so I went through practice. It was a good practice. And I went and I checked my phone, and I had a text from the head coach, who I had never had a phone call with, never talked to her. And she was like, can I call you tonight? And I was like, oh my God, like, of course. And so I went home. It was probably 10:30 at night, and she wound up calling me, and then she offered me on the spot without having watched me play. And I'm a walk-on. I don't have a scholarship, but so she offered me then and there. I started crying on the phone because it was just so like unexpected.
That's awesome.
It was like within 24 hours of me sending them my highlight video, they offered me a spot on the team. And so I actually accepted the next day. So I didn't really I emailed the one other school that I was really super close with, which was Rice University.
Okay.
And I was kind of like, look, I got this offer. I kind of intend on taking it, but I wanted to see if they had anything. And they hadn't watched me play in person yet, so they kind of were like, we don't know. And so I just wound up accepting the Georgia Tech offer. And then Rice actually watched me at the next tournament that we went to, and they were like, oh, we would have offered you, which I was kind of happy about, because I was like, at least I had that option if Georgia Tech didn't work out. But so yeah, Georgia Tech, Rice, William and Mary, trying to think. MIT I was in contact with, mainly for academics.
MIT.
Mm-hmm. MIT, yeah.
Okay, so I don't mean to interrupt you, but so they didn't offer you a scholarship at Georgia Tech, but are you getting any type of academic scholarship?
I'm not.
Really?
No.
Okay.
I'm going to have to earn that when I get there. I mean, my parents are paying for a couple years, but I'm kind of responsible for paying for my last year of college. Yeah. So either I earn some playing time on the court, or I get some academic money, but I got to figure out a way to pay for it.
Yeah, well, we're rooting for you. That's
Yeah.
awesome. That's a great story.
Yeah. So outside of William and Mary, you mentioned like a lot of schools that are in kind of big cities. Is that kind of like something you were like planning on wanting to get out of your college experience?
I didn't want to be in the city. Like I toured, what was it? UPenn.
Okay.
And UPenn is like in Philadelphia, and I didn't like that so much. So I wanted like the campus feel, which Georgia Tech has. It's right outside of Atlanta. But I wanted to be close to a big city, mainly for like connections and getting job opportunities, internship opportunities. So that was something I was looking for. I didn't want to be in the middle of nowhere.
Like Kansas State.
I mean,
the Little Apple.
Probably wouldn't.
Did Drew ever push you to take a look there?
No.
Well, I guess
not too much.
Well, I guess the better question would be like, when did you guys kind of link up? When did you guys start working together?
So yeah, probably a little over 2 years, right? It was probably a March, April. I think our first session was in April, but I had just kind of started in Performance Edge as like my place of business, and it was a chiropractor that you had been seeing for, I don't know how long you were with her, but she had ended up texting me one day. I was like, hey, I've got this like really special volleyball player for you who's switching trainers and looking for something different. And I remember like we first started, you even said how nervous you were because like you didn't know who I was, or like what I was going to be. And then you said I was nice, so that made you more comfortable, like our first couple sessions. But I remember, like, your mom and your
Drew's
sister.
a nice guy. Yeah.
Your mom and your sister were present and sitting on the couch inside the facility for the first, like, 5, 6, 7 sessions.
Yeah.
And if we went 3 minutes over an hour, she would come and get you.
Yeah.
Like, Lauren, time to
Really?
go.
Yeah.
Wow.
Now
it's
it's
like-
funny. We'll go for 2 hours in my
Yeah.
mind.
Our sessions are, like, supposed to be, like, 75 minutes, and we'll just, like, extend it out. But
Yeah. Interesting. Okay. Well, I guess the one question I want to ask is, how did you get started with volleyball? Why volleyball? Any other sports you started at with first, and then you resorted to going to try volleyball?
I actually, before I did volleyball, I did taekwondo for 6 years. So that was my big
Black
thing.
belt?
I was second degree, actually. I
Okay.
got second degree and I stopped.
Stay away from me.
Don't worry. I'm not that
Are you registered as a lethal weapon then? Is that what,
I
is that what I'm
mean,
getting at?
I like to think so. I'm joking. I probably wouldn't do very well in a fight. But it was fun.
Yeah.
So when was it? It was 6th grade. My parents were both really heavily involved with work. And so they hired an au pair from Germany. It didn't work out.
I know about the au pair world.
she
We've had a
moved-
few growing up. Yeah.
Yeah, it didn't work out. She moved out in a couple of months.
That'll happen.
It's just different,
Yeah.
different cultures. It was just not a great mix for our family.
Right.
But so she played volleyball in Germany, and she wanted to coach a youth team, and so my parents were like, well, go try out with her, Lauren, because at that point I was starting to not love taekwondo anymore. And so I went and I tried out with her, and I made like the 5-6 LIV team for Belmont Ridge, and I was so happy. I was like, oh my god, I made a team. And then it kind of just started from there, and then as soon as that season ended, I wanted to play club, and my parents were like, you're not gonna make a team. Like, they weren't like discouraging me. They're like, just be prepared to not make a very good team. And I was like, no, I'm gonna do this. And so I went and I made the 2nd level team at NBVA, which is like the volleyball hub of like Virginia.
Yeah.
It's where everyone who starts playing volleyball they do something at NBVA. And so that's kind of how I got started in club volleyball. And then the next year I moved over to Virginia Juniors, and I played there for 6 or 7 years. So that's kind of how I got into that.
Nice.
Awesome. Well, I have watched it on TV, and you mentioned something about someone else at your position. So what is your position on the court? Or do you kind of move around as a hybrid?
I'm kind of a hybrid.
Uh-huh.
Depends on the team and the season, just what they need, I guess. I started out as an outside hitter, like most people want to be the big hitter and whatever.
Yeah.
So I started out as that. I hurt my back twice, and so I had 2 stress fractures at 2 different times. And so my doctor was like, you do this again, you're not playing volleyball anymore. So that kind of transitioned me into being a DS libero. But I've always hit for all of my teams to some extent. For high school, I'll play 6 rows, and so I'll hit outside, and then I'll go back row and play. And then for my club team, I'll play back row, and then at the end of games, I go front row, so I play all the way around.
Nice.
So I play both.
How did you get those stress fractures? Was that like from falling? Were
It
those
was-
falls?
I was so weak. I didn't work out for a long time, and so I just kept hitting and hitting and hitting, and it's just overuse. It was my L5.
It's like a wear and tear.
Yeah, and so it was just my bones were kind of soft, and I didn't have the muscle and the core strength to support myself. So that's how that happened.
So I'm assuming you got some decent bounce if you're up front. Do you think you can out jump Drew?
Probably not.
No. Oh, I might have to check that out. Don't you have like a rim at edge? You can check.
There's no rim.
Actually, that wouldn't
Well,
even
no
count though.
rim.
You'd
What
have
was-
to do a jump because you're taller, so you'd probably get up
Yeah,
there
you
anyways. But I'm
probably
talking
would.
about getting off the ground.
In volleyball, they're concerned with their touch, right?
That's
Like,
true.
what's
Your
the highest
reach.
you've ever? I know you haven't measured it in probably a while, but what do you think you could touch?
I don't know.
Over 10 feet, right?
No, I can't touch
No,
over 10 feet.
9'7",
9'7", about
9'8".
9'7",
Better than
9'8".
me.
So when you say touch, that's like hands
like-
up trying to block.
Well, block touch is a lot lower. When you like jump and swing, it's like how high your
Uh-huh.
hand can hit.
Okay.
So 9'7" maybe. I might be extending that a little bit.
I think
But-
you could do it. It's like, so you do a 3-step lead in. You're like
Yeah.
1, 2,
Okay.
3 load, and
Yeah.
just reach as high
Oh,
as you
believe
can.
me, I played one season. St. Teresa's. I was on the team in 6th grade, so
Yeah.
I've got a little bit of a background. One season, you know.
Oh, good. Yeah.
Were you pretty big by 6th grade? Were you bigger than everybody else then?
So not so many guys played. So it was actually 6 through 8 for the guys, I think, in Loudoun County. And I mean, I was a big 6th grader.
Yeah.
There were probably some 8th graders that were bigger than me.
Yeah.
But it's funny, like the best team that by far when we were playing was Belmont Ridge, and their guys team would just like run rule everybody. They were like had like everyone on their team was like playing club, and they were just coming out for fun just to like run rule all the other kids in Loudoun County that were just playing like for something to do. I think it was like in the spring, maybe after basketball. I was like, oh yeah, why not? I'll play.
I got to see you out there. I love playing beach volleyball. Do you play a lot of beach volleyball? And like the off season as like training, right? It's probably good for your. It's great for your legs. It's not
I like
bad.
to play with my friends, but I'm not very good at it. Like
Really?
my vertical goes
Insane.
non-existent. And I mean, I'm good with my like wrist, so I've got good ball control. So I'm not like bad at beach volleyball, but I prefer indoor.
How much different is the game?
It's very different, yeah. And especially if you play rules and regulations of beach volleyball, it's very different, yeah.
It's very hard. 2 people has to cover a lot of ground.
Yeah, I never played twos. Fours is usually the way to go, just because
Yeah.
we'll get winded.
Not a lot of
Yeah.
Well,
Or even
I don't have enough gas for that.
who are they? Misty May and Carrie Walsh.
Yeah.
They would win
Are they
gold
still,
all
are they
the time.
still playing?
No, I don't think
Did
they're playing
they
anymore.
finally
Yeah.
retired?
Carrie Walsh, she might still play. I know Misty May is definitely
They
retired.
dominated for
Yeah.
at least a
Yeah.
decade.
Walsh is the taller one,
Right.
And I think she is probably still around. But so Olympics are coming up this summer. So is women's volleyball an Olympic sport?
Yeah, it is.
It is.
yeah.
And I think both the men's and women's national teams have like earned their bid to Tokyo, so they'll both be there, and they're both pretty competitive too. I know the women's team is very competitive; like they have a chance to go for gold. The men's team used to be very competitive. I don't know how they're doing this season. I don't follow it as much, and as much as I used to, but they'll both be there.
Would you say that's the highest stage of the volleyball world, or do you think there's something that I'm not thinking about?
I think like most,
Like in your opinion?
I think most people who aren't involved in volleyball will watch the Olympic volleyball. But I think women's college volleyball tournament, that's probably the biggest you're going to get.
Yeah, because what comes after that? What comes after college?
There's pro leagues,
Yeah.
mainly in Europe, but this year I don't know the name of it. It's like Aro Sports or something. They started their first pro league in the U.S.
Okay.
So that hopefully will grow. Who knows? Maybe in 4 years I'll be able to get a place in there. I don't know.
You're going to finish your engineering degree in 4 years?
Drew, just let me have my moment.
Well, you
That'd be
can
impressive.
So it's biomedical engineering
Yeah.
is what you're going for. So I'm a dumb
Yeah,
dumb sales guy.
Yeah,
I
what
guess.
does that mean? Yeah, what does that mean?
Well,
Help us, please.
it's basically like the development of technology to
Okay.
help people and their bodies function better. So
Oh, okay.
I mean it's a wide like range of
It's
stuff
like
that
the
you can do.
pharmaceutical industry, like under that umbrella.
To some extent.
No?
I mean you can maybe have some crossover there.
Uh-huh.
Nice try.
I know. Like I said.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, like that. And I mean you can go I don't want to go pre-med with it. I don't want to go to med school.
Uh-huh.
That's a lot of school.
Well, you can do that by day, and then at night you can grab your knee pads and your shoes
play volleyball.
and play on the pro team.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I got a question for Drew, just because Drew mainly works with football players. So for you, like, how different is it preparing for her training sessions? Like, what have you had to learn and yeah, and all that?
Well, I mean, luckily, as I grew up as a trainer, right, like, hopefully the internships and the experiences in the companies you, like, initially work for or get exposed to prep you through all the grounds of sports. So, like, when I was at K-State interning, I had a lot of experience with a lot of sports. So women's soccer, women's rowing, women's volleyball, cheer, track, a little football. And one of the teams I worked with probably most frequently was women's volleyball. And as an intern, I don't do anything but coach and help set up, and I do all the dirty work, right? But I get to coach. You get to, and this was when I'm like 19, right? So I didn't really know much about the programming, the periodization, the planning. So it's really me just kind of being a sponge and sitting with the coaches as they program for the sessions. And often we would actually, like, programs are split up into like cycles, like 4-week cycles. So we would like take a sport for 4-week cycle and do their weight training program on our like downtime. And so we're in it and getting sweaty with like what they're writing about. So we feel that and we can make the adjustments. But I mean, and that's why I go to games as well now as a trainer, regardless of the sport, because one, like as you're going to program for some for a specific athlete, they have their sport has a needs analysis. Like physically, what does their sport require? Physiologically, what does their sport require? What are they going to do the most? So volleyball obviously it's like kind of power endurance based. You need to always be able to have a certain twitch or an explosive play, if you will, right? But then like if a volley keeps going, you're going to be back and forth, right? Lauren is all over the place on the court. Especially like some of her highlights.
Especially at her position at the
defensive
libero?
specialist, so like she'll be diving across one aspect of the court and get up and then have to be somewhere else pretty much nearly immediately, and like not even sliding any other player on Riverside, but she was all over the court almost to a point where it would just gas her out. And didn't you? There was a game this year. Didn't you score the last 7 straight points to win the match, the overall match?
Well, I mean, we were gonna win the match anyway, but it was just a nice.
So then, what kind of endurance like training are you doing then for that? Is it a lot of just legs and?
Well, as far as like legs and strength go, like reps would be lower, right? We might hit like some deadlift or squat variation.
So you're just going for strength
and potentiate or like pair that up with some sort of jumping or plyo variation, right? And you lay the groundwork for a strength base first and a landing base, like putting on the brakes, and then we hit it. As far as like the conditioning goes, and that's like I'll get the conditioning work through change of direction stuff, or we'll get on like whatever other modalities like the arc trainer, the bike, whatever. You try to variate it so you hit all like the energy systems, but and honestly though, like conditioning is not always in my hands. I think the sport conditions better than anything that we could ever kind of try to engineer ourselves, and so you just have to make sure like, all right, I'll ask her like, what have you been doing in practice this year? Like a lot of athletes in high school, that she was playing a double season. She was doing club and
at the same time
high school volleyball, because volleyball got pushed to the spring, winter spring, and that's the winter is right when club goes. And like a player like Lauren kind of cares a little more about club, because that's where they're going to play.
That's where you're going to get recruited, right?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. Tougher games too.
Yeah.
And so it was mostly about balancing this year. Like we would maybe have one day where we're trying to hit some weight. The rest is kind of managing. Yeah. Because she'll come in at like 2
probably a lot
for
of
her
recovery,
early
right?
release. Yeah. And then she'll go to practice at 4:30 at Riverside. So like I can't get in the way of that as much as like, oh, we need to do this, we need to do that. Like, how are you feeling today? Where can we?
Yeah, for sure.
Underline. So. Yeah,
that makes sense. Yeah. So who would you? I guess kind of like going off into a different direction. Like, who would you say your main influencers and inspirations are? That can either be specifically volleyball related or family members, whoever that may be.
It's kind of a cliche answer. Probably my parents.
Okay.
Because
it's a good answer, especially if they watch this back. They'll
that's
probably be
true.
happy.
Yeah. I don't really tell them this that much like in the moment, but like when I got kind of dropped from Georgia Tech for a while, they were the ones that my mom especially continued. She's like, you need to keep emailing them, like keep reaching out, because they're your dream school. And even though you've had this setback, like this is still the school you want to go to, and you can still accomplish your goal. You just have to work harder to get there. And so it was really them just encouraging me like all the time. They were reminding me, if I want to go out with my friends, well, Lauren, have you done this for recruiting yet? You need to do this for recruiting. And they always kept me on track, even when I didn't want to do something, which is like being a teenager. Of course, like I'd rather go hang out with my friends and send out 20 emails to colleges, right? Yeah. And so that's kind of how they supported me through it. And I fought them a lot on that throughout my entire recruiting process. It was difficult, but they're the primary reason that I'm going to Georgia Tech is because they motivated me and they kept me going. And I mean, obviously, I'd like to say like my own self-motivation, but it's really them and myself that kind of got me here. That's
awesome. Yeah. That's a good story. You need a good support system to make sure, because it's. Yeah. I mean, did you want to quit at any point? Like, was there ever that doubt?
I never wanted to quit volleyball. I knew I wanted to play college volleyball since, 6th grade. I took my first travel club volleyball season where I traveled to like tournaments in like Maryland. I was like, oh my God, I'm going to Maryland for a tournament. Then I was like, I need to play college volleyball. So I always knew I wanted to do it. There was just like hard times where I was like, I don't want to put in the work to do it sometimes, but I never wanted to quit. It's just sometimes it gets difficult when the schools that you're really interested in aren't like reciprocating that sort of interest. So
Well, good advice, mom and dad, on being persistent, and then you kind of reopen the relationship. It sounds like after you sent that tape.
I'm very
thankful. They back to you in a day.
I'm very thankful for my parents for pushing me through that. Yeah.
Awesome.
Shout out mom and dad.
I know.
The crazy part about any sport but football is you kind of have to take the reins of your recruiting completely.
Basically.
I remember
I learned that the hard way with baseball.
Yeah. Well, and I remember a lot of nights where like your mom or you would spend an entire Friday night just like updating your highlights, drafting up emails.
You're probably pretty good at writing emails now, though, aren't you?
I mean, I'd like to think so. Yeah.
You got a head start on most people. That's funny.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, you mentioned you were like excited. You're going to Maryland for a tournament. So the ACC now spans from Syracuse to Miami. So are you like ready for some of the traveling that's going to come along with the season?
Well, after my 6th grade club season and I went to juniors, it's a more competitive club. I started traveling all over the country for tournaments. I've been to my favorite place was Las Vegas. We went for a tournament.
Very cool.
I've been to like what was it? It was in Kansas. We went to one tournament in Kansas. Kansas City, yeah. Florida, Philadelphia. Like I've been all over Minneapolis. I've been all over the place for volleyball, but yeah, I like the travel aspect of it. Not gonna lie.
Do you have eyes on your schedule for next year yet?
I don't know our schedule.
Okay.
I don't know if it's posted yet. I haven't really checked.
Yeah,
but
I don't know if it is either because I was kind of looking to see because I know last year it was ACC only. But I mentioned like you could go from upstate New York down to Miami.
Yeah.
But I saw like in some of the years past, you guys were playing like teams out in California.
Yeah.
Definitely like a national schedule as far as.
Yeah, I was gonna say they'll probably play an out of conference schedule this year.
Right. Yeah. It'll be normal. Yeah.
Nice.
That's awesome. That's exciting.
And so the big game will be Pitt, right? They're the top team in the ACC.
Is that your rivalry?
Yeah.
I mean, you guys wear the same colors too, almost. So that's like a.
I mean, yeah, Pitt, Georgia Tech, that's probably the in-conference rival, and then UGA is obviously like the out-of-conference rival.
The state rival, state championship.
I hate the dogs.
I'm supposed to now too.
Yeah, there's no love lost from them.
Yeah, we can. I think we can all agree on that one. There.
Did you ever have Miss Rossi for science class?
I did have Miss Rossi.
I did
you
not.
Did?
I did not.
So her best friend, one of her best friends, is going to go to Pitt. It's Miss Rossi's daughter.
Yeah.
Dating me a little bit because I remember when I was in 7th grade, those kids were very young. So that's
Isn't
interesting.
That funny?
It is, yeah.
Yeah.
We're only 26. We're not that old.
No.
My clients think I'm old, unfortunately.
Really?
Yeah.
I mean, I guess you're working with young. Yeah.
I can't say like
he looks younger now when he doesn't have that goatee going. So
right.
For sure.
Maybe.
I don't know. I personally like the goatee. At least you're not wearing the sunglasses this time.
You were wearing sunglasses last time.
If you could call them that.
Yeah.
These like yellow tinted shades.
They have to do absolutely nothing for the blocking the sun at all. It's just for looks.
For looks.
It's like this like 80s like Miami. Just like I don't know if I got the right era. You can quote me on that. What would you say is the most misunderstood part of volleyball?
That it's actually a hard sport to play.
I always thought it was hard.
Yeah, I think that's one thing people always.
You don't realize until you get out there,
right.
For sure.
If I threw a random person into my club volleyball match, they would be so overwhelmed.
Yeah.
It's people like to play, and it's a fun sport to play. Like, don't get me wrong. Like when you're just playing recreationally, anyone. That's the thing about volleyball is anyone can really play it to some extent, but to play it competitively, it's actually a lot harder than people think because there's so many different plays that you can run once you get up to those higher levels. Like there's like 10 or 15 different sets that you can line up along the net. And there's different routes you can run, different ways you can trick people with it, and different tempos you have to do. So it's a lot harder than people, and a lot more complex than people think it is.
Do you watch a lot of film for volleyball?
I do. Yeah. I love watching watching myself, but watching my team play. I love watching college volleyball. So yeah, I watch a lot of volleyball.
What would you say the hardest part of the game is?
Well, for me, it's gonna be serve receive. Receiving.
Right.
So after the person serves, it's that first initial contact. It's very precise movements.
Ball spinning.
Yeah, and so
mostly top spin.
Well, actually, those are the easiest to pass.
Okay.
It's when the ball will float.
Knuckle.
Yeah. And then you have to get it right to target. And so, and that's honestly the foundation of the game is passing that initial pass. So, I mean, that's probably the most difficult part.
Yeah, I've played my fair share of beach volleyball, and I'll usually try and play the middle just because I got bad knees and I'm not that tall, not great up front, decent athleticism, and that's the hardest part is taking that serve. But it feels great when you play it perfectly.
Oh, for sure, yeah.
Let's go.
When you have your private lessons, isn't serve receive like one of the harder days for you? Because it's just very repetitive. A lot of diving.
Well, the hardest days are defensive days because then you're just running all over the court getting balls up. Like I will literally just almost puke after some of my private lessons because he will get up on a box and he'll just hit balls at me like constantly.
So who's your volleyball specific instructor? Do you have one person that you typically work with?
I have one person that I do private lessons with. His name is Nikolai. He used to play on the Bulgarian maybe men's national team. Okay. So he's a big dude. He can hit very hard. That's kind of why I go to him, and I've been working with him since like 14's year.
It's probably a great experience though because he's coming in.
Oh, he's very straightforward.
Yeah.
He calls me out whenever I'm playing bad.
Yeah. Sometimes you need that.
I do, yeah.
Yeah, sometimes you just need a coach like that.
I know. Sometimes my ego gets too high, and then he'll be like, Lauren, what are you doing? That's not volleyball.
Reality check.
Yeah.
That's funny.
Yeah. So from what it sounds like, you played out of position for your high school squad, right? But you played because you don't typically play up front.
I mean, not from like my club team. I'm not recruited to play up front for Georgia Tech.
Okay, but would you say that's like helped your overall game?
Oh, for sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Learning how to hit first made me, I think, a better defensive player because I understand like the mind of a hitter. Yeah. When I'm playing defense, I'm like, okay, well, if they're going this way, if I was hitting, I would try to like go against the grain of the play and turn it back this way. So it's for sure helped me improve my game. Yeah.
So from a defensive standpoint, and this is like a novice that watches on TV, is it kind of like the same thing we talk about in all sports, eye on the ball? Because I've seen how they will send two people in the air to like act like they're spiking. So do you kind of have to, are you always trying to see where the ball is to make sure you don't fall for stuff like that?
I mean, there's like a saying in volleyball, it's called ball setter, ball hitter. And it's like how you're supposed to track the progress of the play. And so you watch the passer, see where the passer is, like what their angle is, and then you see where the ball is going. Then you watch watching the setter is the most important part. So then the last part is watching the hitter, obviously, because then you just have to watch their body language. But it's really watching the setter and understanding where they're going to go with the ball is probably the most important part of being a defensive player because it helps you get ahead in the play. And then obviously understanding how to read the hitter is important too.
Can you tell the setter like the tilt of their hands where they might go, backward or?
All setters have
pin?
tells.
Okay.
It's easiest to tell when they're back setting because they generally do something different, like they'll arch their body in a different way or they'll like kick a foot out or something.
So are you getting that off of film though, or is that just in game? Like you
gotta do it in game.
I feel like that's just so much to process.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's volleyball. It's like a lot of small details you have to pick up on to make it a very high level of play. But I've been doing it for so long. It's not like I'm not overwhelmed when I play volleyball because I'm thinking of all these different things.
Yeah, it's natural.
I'm sure it's innate at this point. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, that sounds pretty demanding. So I want to talk about like the reason. Part of the reason we have this podcast is because there's so much talent in this area, just top to bottom, every sport. Like, what's the volleyball talent like in this area? On the women's side.
It's competitive. I think like the big hotspots in the U.S. are like Texas and California are big volleyball areas.
Do you compete with them a lot when you're traveling?
Yeah, that's why we do these like.
So you've played against the best,
right? Yeah. But around here, I mean, it used to be a lot less competitive, but now we've got recruits going to a lot bigger name schools. So it's definitely grown. Volleyball is growing at a very fast rate. I think most girls at some point just want to try it.
Yeah. Why do you think that is?
I think it's just an easy sport to get into because there's so many rec leagues around here. So once you get into a rec league and you love it, then you move into competitive and like club level. And there's so many more clubs that are available now just because of how fast this area is growing. Like 20 years ago, NVVA was the only place you could go to play travel volleyball. But now at the place where I practice, there's 7 or 8 different travel clubs that practice there.
Man.
So, and that's just at my facility. And so
are they all like different tiers or just different programs?
They all can compete in the same divisions, but obviously there's different levels of clubs in terms of skill level.
Right. So you probably play against a lot of your like high school teammates, or do you play on their teams, or?
I actually don't play with a lot of my high school teammates.
Okay.
There's a couple club rivalries I have, and I have teammates on those clubs.
Yeah.
But my club team I'm the only person from around here that plays in my club.
Okay, so then what's the makeup of your club team? Like, where's everybody from?
Here, Maryland and West Virginia is where, and like Winchester.
Winchester, okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
So that's
and
where
then,
people
but you practice here.
Yeah, we practice past the airport, Dulles Airport.
Gotcha. Sterling area.
Yeah.
And that girl from West Virginia drives all the way out.
I was gonna say, so you probably have one of the easier commutes then.
I do, yeah. I can make it there in 15 minutes.
Yeah, that's a good deal.
Yeah.
That's a good deal. All right, I want to get a little bit like funny here.
Okay.
I want to talk some of your hit like spike experiences.
Okay.
Have you ever spiked it in anybody's face?
Yes.
Did you?
I gave a girl a concussion 2 years ago, maybe.
How often does that happen?
I mean, I've only given a girl a concussion one time.
Did you feel pretty bad about it, or no?
It was not really my fault.
Yeah. I wanted to ask that because I was like, do you think she felt bad or not? Or
head on a swivel. Come on.
Yeah.
I mean, we were just serving.
Part of the game.
I served the ball at her head, and she was just standing in the middle.
Was that
of
your
the
target
court.
line?
I mean, I was just serving the ball. She was just walking right in front of me, and so then it hit her head, and she like collapsed on the floor. Was out for a while.
Oh man. That's brutal.
Oh, man.
That is brutal. I've been hitting the head a couple of times with the basketball. That doesn't feel good. And it's not even coming at a high speed. I couldn't imagine what a volleyball feels like.
I thought I got a concussion last. I didn't tell you about this.
Well, I was going to say, has it ever happened to you?
Oh, yeah. I got hit in the face this weekend, and it really hurt. And then I had a headache the rest of the night, and I was like, oh, God.
Did you have, like, volleyball, like, marks on your face?
No, I got hit right in the eye, though, so.
What's worse, getting hit in the head or just completely whiffing on a serve? Coming over.
It's really embarrassing.
Or
when you whiff.
Or floor burns.
I actually, I don't. You can't.
Does that happen a lot too? Is that pretty consistent?
I actually, Drew, I don't know if you saw this at the gym. I had a pretty bad one
last
week.
She'll come in once a week, be like, Drew, look at this new bruise.
Is that just pretty normal?
Yeah, and I mean, I play defense, so I'm like throwing myself around all the time.
Pretty used to it.
Yeah.
Yeah, getting banged up. That's just how it goes.
I kind of like it though. It's battle wounds and stuff.
Yeah, it gets you in it.
I know.
You're totally in it for sure.
You could have played like hockey or something.
I would
have been good at it.
Yeah.
Speaking of other sports, I mean, like I know you said Taekwondo, but like if you could play another sport or wish you gave another sport a shot, what would it be? And you don't have to give an answer. You'd be like, I love volleyball.
Yeah.
I only love volleyball, but like soccer.
I think it would be soccer.
Soccer?
Yeah.
Okay.
It wouldn't be basketball. It probably wouldn't be maybe lacrosse.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe
Have you ever given those a shot at all?
I played soccer when I was like 5.
Okay.
But
that's usually what everybody plays when they're a kid.
Is like volleyball, basketball, is that like a pretty common one too?
Yeah. Oh,
because I know that Maria Taylor, she played at UGA. She was on the women's basketball team and women's volleyball team. Yeah.
Yeah, I know people. Wow. I know people who will play both seasons at once. They'll do basketball and volleyball at the same time. So it's
the
pretty
club and then high school.
Yeah.
Wow.
They'll do stuff at the same time.
Speaking of, is it actually Maria? I don't know.
Maria Taylor, the chick from College Game Day.
So, who would you say, like professionally wise, like from a volleyball standpoint, someone you've looked up to? Like,
I haven't answered this one. Catherine Plummer. She played at Stanford. She was a 4-time first-team All-American. I got her autograph last year. I went to go see the national team. I still have it on a ball in my room. She's just absolutely amazing, and I always loved watching her play. And so then I got to meet her at a meet and greet, and that was amazing. So.
Are you taking the ball with you?
So what is she? What does she do now? Is she still playing?
She's in pro. She's doing pro.
Is she in that league you were talking about?
I don't know if she's in that specific. I think she's in Europe.
Okay.
But she's on the national team too. So hopefully I can watch her play when they go to Tokyo this summer. Oh my God.
It is this summer. Yeah, it's it's off because they postponed it from last year.
Yeah, in about a month and a half. I've actually been like in the middle of the week, you can turn on NBC and they'll have swim trials. Yeah. So I'm starting to get into it again.
How good is Team USA?
The women's team?
Yes.
They're good. Yeah.
I
think that
do you think they can win a gold medal?
They can medal if they want to. If they play well and they.
Who are the other really good countries?
China's pretty good.
Yeah.
I think there's a few more European teams that are actually all right.
So would you say Catherine Plummer was like the reason you got into volleyball, or were you already into it and then she made you love the game even more?
I started watching her my freshman year of high school, And so I was already deep into volleyball.
So you like watching her film, taking notes. Did she play the same position?
She played 6 rows,
Okay.
so she's like a 6'6" outside hitter.
Jeez.
Oh,
So
wow.
I don't really have the same like physique as her.
Yeah.
But
Actually, I feel like that'd be a good rabbit hole to go down. Like we're talking about, so the height of players that you played with at the high school level versus what you'll see at the next level. Like, and I'm sure maybe you've gotten a taste of that playing travel.
Right.
But like, how much of a difference is that?
Well, I'll say I'm top 2 in height on my high school team, and I will be probably the shortest person at Georgia Tech.
That's
Wow.
crazy.
Yeah.
So what's the height? What's the roster like over at Georgia Tech? 6'6".
I mean,
Yeah,
then we might have
that's-
a 6. There's average is probably 6'2", 6'3".
Mm-hmm.
That's what you're gonna get for a typical Division I outside hitter.
Wow.
But I'm sure we've got some tall like 6'4" girls at Georgia
Okay.
Tech. Yeah,
How about the DS
terrifying.
Liberos at Tech?
they're probably my height, maybe 5'6", 5'8". I'm 5. I like to say I'm 5'10", but like I'm 5'9", 5'8". But yeah, they're probably my height. I'll be
Nice.
short though.
Are you ready for that?
Being the shortest person.
Well, I'm more so talking about taking hits from 6'6".
Oh, I'm so excited.
Yeah?
Yeah.
That's-
I'm
That's
sure
how
I'm
you
sure
gotta be
she's ready.
hungry.
Just like generally speaking, is there
Yeah.
ever any like resentment? Like, oh, she's just tall. She's not good. She's just tall.
That's a
A little bit of a thing.
oh, but
Like if I
Yeah.
was that tall, I'd be that good.
oh
Well,
for sure. Yeah.
We actually talked about that one session recently, a couple
Yeah.
weeks ago. I was like, Lauren, if you were 6'3" and you carried all the same skill level, like where are you playing? And where'd you
I
say?
was like Stanford.
That's such
Yeah.
a great hypothetical question. 'Cause I was
Yeah.
like, if I was 6'2", I would have played college baseball, right? Like it's easy to say that. It's a cop, but like, hey, you're already doing it. And you don't need to be that tall. So
I had to
that's-
work harder to get to where I am because I'm not that tall. So maybe
Yeah.
that helped.
What are you most excited about for the next level?
I love defense, and so I actually play pickup with one of my old coaches. He has a bunch of like men who like play in the pro leagues and stuff, but they come back and they play here, and so I'll play pickup with them, and so just like playing defense against them, it is so much fun. So that's probably what I'm most excited about is just like balling out on the court.
So you've played with a lot of men then.
Yeah, no,
How
I'm
much
pretty
different
used-
is that the game?
It's faster.
It's a little faster.
Yeah. And I mean, when I play with them, we play on a women's net too. So they get a little bit of an advantage.
Yeah, but you know one thing
Wow.
I've noticed in like the men versus women's sports, it's like soccer. The women's soccer is still very fast, and they can compete with them. And I feel like volleyball is one of those sports too, where the women can hop on and play on the same stage
yeah.
as men for the most part.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And especially, I mean, I couldn't play with like the men's national team ever. But I mean, with guys who just play competitively around here, like yeah, I can hang with them, and that's honestly makes the game more fun. Gives me something else to do.
Do you know a lot of the male volleyball players in this area that are going to play in college as well?
There's actually not a ton.
Really?
Of,
Okay.
I mean, there's some clubs, but I'm not really involved in that community.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I think California, it's pretty big.
yeah.
Nick Foles actually very good volleyball player.
Interesting.
Could have pursued that in college, I heard. And then Chase Budinger, who played in the NBA for a little while. He's about 6'7". Well, won a dunk contest. He was a pretty skilled volleyball player too.
Mm.
Yeah.
Speaking of NBA, I saw Kobe Bryant at a tournament once.
Really?
When we went to Vegas, he was there. His older daughter plays volleyball.
Yeah, she's definitely very tall. I've
Yeah.
seen her.
What's her name?
I don't know, but she's been doing like a lot of the speaking things with her mom,
Okay.
Vanessa, like as of late.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a sad story.
Yeah.
For another day. So from what Drew has told me, you're a Colin Cowherd fan.
I am a Colin Cowherd fan. Yeah.
What? How'd you get into Colin? Were you there for the Sports Nation days?
It was
or-
probably not. No.
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 That's when I first saw Colin Cowherd.
No, I got into it because of my dad. My dad was he is a big NFL fan, and so I started watching with him, and then I just loved it. I like keeping track of all the teams, and so I started listening to the podcast on my own, and so that's kind of how I got into the podcast world of sports.
He can be a little off the wall.
He's a little crazy.
So
$6 million a year, crazy.
yeah. So he's been known to have some really hot takes.
He does have some hot
Which I guess if you can remember, which take would you say you most agree with on his, or what's one of the worst takes you've ever heard him have, or like recently? Because Drew was telling me that recently you had some words for Colin on one of his takes.
I think he changes his opinion a lot, and
It's
I know
classic, of course.
Drew and I were talking about, like, okay, he has this, like, saying, like, when I have new information, like, I'm allowed to change my opinion, and it's like, I agree with that, but I think he does it a little too much and, like, too day to day. Like, for example, was I talking about the Clippers example, because I don't even remember what I was talking about. He was like, earlier in the week, Kawhi Leonard got hurt, and he was like, the Clippers are gonna lose, and then when they won, and the next day he goes,
won last night,
that was like the best moment in Clippers history. Like,
oh wow.
And I was like, come on, like, you were ripping on them the night before.
Yeah.
And he does this a lot with, like, Aaron Rodgers, I think, because there's all that drama about he's gonna leave the Packers and all that. And it started when all this drama came out. He was like, originally he was not defending him. Then he was defending him. Now I think he's back to, like, this is on it. Like, I don't know. Now it's a Jordan Love thing, and so he's all over the place. And so but because I've been listening to him for so long, I can kind of pick that out, and that's why I kind of have gotten used to that. So I kind of can call it some of his BS sometimes.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I enjoy listening to him. I definitely do.
He's good.
If I had to pick, I'd go with Colin. Like, pick your fighter, right?
Yeah.
Skip Bayless, Stephen A. Smith, Shannon Sharp, Colin Cowherd.
Skip Bayless is hilarious, though. I love listening to him.
Let's talk about trolls. Who's the best? who's the best troll in sports media? You think?
I don't know.
I'd say only Skip, just because I think he's an idiot. Honestly,
he does have.
He's made his whole career on. I think he's lying. Like, there's no way you can just sit there and say LeBron sucks.
He has some very crazy takes.
He's a nut.
But he's just funny to listen to. Like, I don't know, like, whenever
he's been in the game forever.
Something really big happens, like when Tampa won the Super Bowl, he came in the next day in his, like, Brady jersey, and he's like stomps on the stage, and he, like, sits down and makes this dramatic entrance. And so I think he's funny to listen to sometimes. And
he drives me crazy. Like, there was one take he had, and even you agree with me.
Well, that's what he's supposed to do, is drive you crazy is the thing.
So
he was this, like, respected columnist, like, back in the 80s. He started in Dallas. And, like, really, like, became big covering the Cowboys in their heyday in the 90s with, they were winning Super Bowls. And, first take came around and him and Stephen A. Smith had a good thing going, but it started to get so written. And you can just tell when they're, like, trying to throw something in there to generate buzz and reaction. So I think he's aware of what he's doing, but his salary is the reason why he doesn't really care anymore.
I'm more so talking about the March Madness tweet he put out when Jalen Suggs hit that game winner in the Final Four, and he was like, "That's got to be one of the luckiest shots I've ever seen ever." It's like, okay, yeah, you could say that about any buzzer beater ever. It's like that was equal parts skill as it was luck. And again, like, he got me so fired up that I literally tweeted at him. I was like, "You're an absolute jackass."
He is very hypocritical. I think he's very hypocritical, I think.
I mean, clearly he does his job well if he's getting under my skin.
Yeah.
So, do you think you see yourself having a future at all, like, post volleyball, getting into like that type of
sports
industry?
commentary?
If I threw everything out the window, if my dream job would be to, like, be a sports podcaster, like Colin Cowherd or something.
Really?
But I mean, obviously, I would want to be successful at it, and so it's like that's why I'm taking this biomedical engineering route, because I'm super interested in it still. And so who knows, maybe I can get a minor in sports broadcasting or something. I don't know. But
it wouldn't hurt.
It's all
if
there.
I could throw everything out the window, I would do that.
It also helps having the college volleyball resume too.
Yeah,
they
for
always
sure.
They always like having former athletes.
And actually, one of the people on my club volleyball team, her name is Megan. She's going to Cornell to play volleyball. Her dad is Eric Bickle, who does the Sports Junkies
You're kidding
podcast.
me.
Yeah.
I'm a P1. I'm a P1. I listen to him 6 a.m. to 10 a.m.
Yeah.
every morning.
Do you really?
That's so funny. Oh, EB, they are legendary in this area. And
I'll have to give it a listen.
No, I'm not gonna fanboy right now, but I'm getting like a little bit of secondhand fanboy right now. That's awesome.
Yeah,
wow.
no, so I've known him for like 3 or 4 years now, and so I've talked to him about like sports podcasting sometimes. Yeah, it's kind of cool.
I mean, I'm not going to steer you away from your engineering degree, but I think you got a good thing going there. You might want to explore that.
Got some connections.
Because I mean, as fun as biomedical engineering might be, I think talking about sports is probably more
I would
fun.
love that. Yeah. if I do biomedical engineering and I like see it through, I'd want to do like sports technology when I get older. So I don't want to like leave the sports world.
Yeah. So you were saying you want to stay in sports.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, I'm too invested in this.
Yeah.
Well, the sports science reboot with Lauren Sanden on ESPN. We can get into that.
Hell yeah.
Maybe.
And I can't remember
Great
that guy's
idea.
name, but he's from this area.
the
The
guy
guy
that
that
does
did the
sports
sports
science?
science. He's like
Huh.
from Vienna or something.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's exciting. Well, I don't have a bunch of questions here. I think we're coming up close probably to about an hour, if I had to guess. But Drew, anything you want to throw out there? You usually like to throw something out at the end of the podcast.
I
Start a
do.
combo.
Well,
Okay, go
I
ahead.
think-
do your thing.
Well, I was agreeing that I do end up doing that. We talk about like where you get your like smarts and your athletics from, but like
Right.
talk about like, because Cole was a hockey player growing up, and like, so where's your dad from, and what did he play?
My dad's from International Falls, Minnesota. He played hockey for like, I might be messing this up. He might watch this and be like,
He was
"Lauren, you
probably
got that
born with
number."
skates on.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he was. He played hockey for a long time. He didn't play in college. He went to University of North Dakota though, which is obviously a huge
So
hockey
he probably
school.
saw a lot of good hockey.
Oh, for
though.
sure. He
Yeah.
still loves going to like Caps games and stuff like
Yeah.
that. And he will watch like the NHL through like the entire season.
The playoffs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is he a Caps
Um,
fan?
It's the best playoffs.
Or
Yeah.
who's he like?
He just follows the Caps because they're the local team.
Yeah.
So they have the most games on. But
So he's been through a lot of heartbreak.
yeah.
For sure. Yeah. I'm an Avs fan. I don't know if you watch any of the
I don't
playoffs
really
at all.
follow.
Yeah, we got
NHL.
knocked out. It's tough. It's brutal.
Yeah.
But what about your mom? Your mom have any athletic roots at all?
She went to Boulder,
She
right?
went to bowl. She was in.
Oh, she was a buff?
She was a buff. Yeah.
Wow, I was wearing my buff shirt yesterday.
Yeah. No, she went there. She did ROTC. So I mean, maybe that kind of counts. She didn't really play sports. She was more of like a band person. But yeah, I get my sports.
ROTC, is that where you get your discipline?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Taekwondo.
Well,
Both
she-
my parents were actually in the military. My dad was in the I'm gonna mess up. My dad was in the Navy.
You better get that one right.
Oh,
God.
You better,
And my
because
mom-
if he's Army, he's not gonna like that.
And my mom was in the Air Force for sure. So they're both there.
So wait, I'm assuming your dad, if he's a Navy guy, probably goes pretty crazy for those Navy Army football games.
Actually, he doesn't.
Really?
No,
Okay.
he didn't go. He went to University of North
UND,
Dakota.
yeah.
So he
Yeah.
went in after college. So he doesn't really follow like that. at
So
all.
who are your sports teams then?
My sports teams. Well, I'm a Patriots fan. Yeah,
Her
like
and
you're-
Billy, right?
Yeah,
Oh, yeah,
where the
Billy
hell
too.
does that come from? I got it.
It's actually so the first Giants Patriots Super Bowl. I was in 5th grade or something, and my dad was like
Great memories.
asking
I'm
me
a Giants fan.
who I thought would win, and I was like, he was like, the Patriots are gonna win, Lauren, because I think that was
That was when they were 18-0.
yeah
18-1.
and I was like, my dad said the Patriots, and out of spite, I said the Giants. I was like, the Giants are gonna win. Then they won, and then they had that second Super Bowl, and my dad was like, the Patriots are gonna win again. I was like, no, the Giants are gonna win.
So then how are you not a Giants
So,
fan?
but then my dad.
I'm sorry, I keep interrupting. Go ahead.
No. But then my dad started watching. He had a Patriots Giants game on like regular season a couple years later, and I watched it all the way through. And he was like, it was like a couple seconds left. Patriots are down by a couple points, and they went. They kicked a field goal. Last second, they won. And I remember my dad was like, the Patriots are going to win this game. And I said, there's no way they're going to win it. There's a couple seconds left on the clock. I didn't know anything about football, though. And then they won, and I was like fascinated by it. And so then I started watching all the Patriots games with my dad. My dad's a Vikings fan, though. So
Well, that makes
he's
sense.
had a lot of
He's from
heartbreak.
Minnesota.
Skull.
Oh,
Yeah.
jeez. He's had a lot of heartbreak, but he's probably, one of the greatest sports moments ever was the miracle in Minneapolis, which the
Stephon Diggs, yeah.
Stephon Diggs.
Spawn
Yeah.
Diggs. So, Lauren, the Patriots are coming to Atlanta November 18th.
Oh.
Put it
I'm
on your calendar.
I'm going to multiple games this year. I'll probably go to the Bucks Atlanta game.
I heard the Falcon Stadium's legit.
It's
Yeah.
really
Pretty
nice,
new.
really nice. And what's kind of cool about it too is what I've heard. I've never been, but they actually drove the concession prices like way down.
Oh.
So like hot dogs are $1.
Cool.
Like,
They also
Yeah.
put the Chick-fil-A in there. You can't even get it on Sundays.
you can't on
that's
Sundays.
It's kind of
sucks.
wild.
Yeah.
They have a Chick-fil-A in there. You can't even get it on a game
That's
day
weird.
unless it's a Thursday night game. which
Yeah.
is-
That's going to be really exciting. There's a lot going on there because
Yeah.
they love that. I'm not really much of a soccer fan, but they love that team in Atlanta. They like almost like
Is it
sell
Atlanta-
most of the seats.
Atlanta
Yeah.
FC.
Or United, something like that.
That's usually what it is. United or
Mhm.
FC.
Yeah.
Wait, so is Georgia Tech? Is that in the heart of Atlanta, or is it?
right next to it. Part of
Okay.
the campus is in Midtown, so it's like an actual campus.
That's a popular spot. Though.
Yeah, there's grass fields. There's just a lot of trees at Tech. So
Are you ready
right
for the
by-
heat?
Kind of.
Hotlanta.
Yeah, Hotlanta.
It's got that nickname for a
Well,
reason.
I hope you won't be doing much driving either, because it's probably like outside of New York and Houston, one of the worst traffics in the country.
I am not bringing a car.
Yeah, don't even worry.
No.
Yeah.
I got my feet.
Yeah, there you go. Well, that's
They do have a great train system.
all right. Great train system.
I'll be
Put
utilizing
right
that.
down the notes.
Marta.
There you go. Well, that's all we got today. Lauren, thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you.
You got us up relatively early, which
Sorry
I was
about
upset
that.
about at first, but now I'm
it was
totally cool.
Yeah, well worth it.
Because
Thank
honestly,
you.
I'm
Thank
not
you.
even gonna lie. I'm gonna show up the boys that have been on the podcast here, but you put them to shame. Honestly,
Oh,
that was
thank you.
great. Very conversational, not shy at all. Drew, you got a good one, and hopefully we can stay connected. And best of
course,
luck
yeah.
at the next level.
Thank you so much.
Yep,
Yeah,
go
enjoyed
Jackets.
Go
We're gonna
Jackets.
be winning.
Yeah.
We'll be watching. Will we be able to see you on TV?
it. ACC Network.
You
Yeah,
better
they-
get in there as soon as possible. Got some work to
Oh,
do.
with the way she works, we'll see.
We'll
All right.
see.
Well, best of luck. Thank you again.
Thank you so much.
All right.